The deep space exploration ship UES Discovery moved slowly through the dark void between stars. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, watching the endless black through the main screen. His crew had been traveling for 3 months now, searching for signs of alien life. So far, they had found nothing but empty space and dead rocks. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Lisa Turner from her communications station. She was a young officer with bright eyes and quick fingers that danced across her controls. "It looks like a distress signal, but the pattern is unlike anything in our databases." Jake leaned forward in his chair. This was what they had been hoping for during their long journey into unknown space. "Can you clean it up, make it clearer?" Lisa worked for several minutes, her face focused on the glowing screens in front of her. "I think I've got it, sir. The signal is coming from about 2 million kilometers away, near that purple nebula we've been avoiding." "Put it on speakers," Jake ordered. The bridge filled with a strange musical sound that rose and fell like waves on a beach. Mixed in with the melody were sharp, painful noises that made everyone wince. Even though the words were alien, the desperation in the voice was clear to everyone who heard it. "That's definitely a call for help," said Dr. Amy Rodriguez, the ship's chief medical officer. She had come to the bridge when she heard about the signal. "Whoever is making that sound is scared and hurt." Jake looked at his navigation officer, Helen Stone. She was studying her charts with a worried expression. "Helen, what's the situation with that nebula?" "Not good, Captain," Helen replied. "The nebula is full of dangerous radiation and electrical storms. Most ships would avoid it completely. Whatever sent that signal must have been desperate to go in there, or running from something even worse," added Lieutenant Commander Ryan Walsh, the ship's tactical officer. He was a serious man who always thought about potential threats. Jake made his decision quickly. "Set course for the signal's location, but keep us at a safe distance from the nebula. I don't want to lose the Discovery to some space storm." As they approached the coordinates, their sensors picked up a small ship drifting near the edge of the dangerous nebula. The vessel was unlike anything humans had ever seen. It was smooth and curved, almost like it had grown instead of being built. But it was also badly damaged, with holes in its hull and strange burns across its surface. "Life signs?" Jake asked. Dr. Rodriguez checked her medical scanners. "One weak signal. Whoever is over there is barely alive." "Ryan, any signs of other ships in the area?" The tactical officer shook his head. "Nothing on sensors, Captain. But those nebula storms could hide an entire fleet if they wanted to stay hidden." Jake stood up from his chair. "Lisa, try to contact the ship. Let them know we're here to help." Lisa sent several different types of signals toward the alien vessel. After a few minutes, she received a weak response. The same musical voice came through the speakers, but much quieter now, almost like a whisper. "I think they're trying to say something about danger," Lisa said. "And something about others being taken." "Taken?" Jake looked at Ryan. "That doesn't sound good." Dr. Rodriguez was already moving toward the exit. "Captain, if there's someone alive over there, they need help immediately. My scanners show their life signs are getting weaker." Jake nodded. "Ryan, take a security team and go with Dr. Rodriguez. Bring whoever is over there back to our medical bay. Helen, keep us positioned so we can run if we need to." 20 minutes later, Ryan's voice came over the communication system. "Captain, you need to see this. We found the survivor and she's not what we expected." "She?" Jake asked. "The alien is female, or at least appears to be. Dr. Rodriguez is working on her now, but Captain, this ship didn't just have an accident. Someone attacked it. The weapon marks are clearly from energy weapons, and the damage was meant to disable, not destroy." Jake felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Bring her aboard immediately. We'll sort out the details once she's safe." The alien girl was brought to the Discovery's medical bay on a stretcher. Dr. Rodriguez had managed to stabilize her, but she was still unconscious. Jake got his first look at humanity's first contact with alien intelligence, and he was surprised by how familiar she seemed. She was tall and thin, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow slightly in the medical bay's lights. Her hair was long and white, almost like silver threads. Her face was peaceful even in unconsciousness, with features that were clearly not human, but somehow beautiful in their difference. Her biology is amazing, Dr. Rodriguez explained as she worked. She has 2 hearts and her blood carries oxygen much more efficiently than ours. But the basic systems are similar enough that I can treat her injuries. What kind of injuries? Jake asked. Burns from energy weapons, some kind of neural damage that might be from torture devices and severe dehydration. Whoever did this to her wanted information, and they weren't gentle about getting it. As if responding to their voices, the alien girl's eyes opened slowly. They were large and completely black, like looking into deep space. When she saw the humans around her, she tried to sit up quickly but fell back down with a weak cry. Dr. Rodriguez moved to calm her. It's okay. You're safe now. We're here to help. The alien girl looked around the medical bay with confusion and fear. She said something in her musical language, and her voice was filled with panic. Lisa had followed the rescue team back to the medical bay with a portable translator. I'm trying to understand her language, but it's complex. I think she's asking about others, maybe her crew. The alien girl seemed to understand that they were trying to communicate. She pointed to herself and said a single word that sounded like, Zara. Zara, Jake repeated, and the girl nodded weakly. Dr. Rodriguez smiled, gently. Hello, Zara. I'm Amy, and we're going to take care of you. For the first time since they found her, Zara seemed to relax slightly. But then her eyes widened with fear, and she grabbed Dr. Rodriguez's arm. She spoke rapidly in her own language, pointing toward the ceiling as if indicating something far away. Lisa worked frantically with her translator. After a few moments, she looked up with a pale face. Captain, I think she's trying to warn us. The word she keeps using translates roughly to hunters, or those who take. And I think she's saying they're coming. As if summoned by her warning, Ryan's voice came over the ship's communication system from the bridge. Captain Morrison to the bridge immediately. We have 3 large ships dropping out of hyperspace and they don't look friendly. Jake ran to the bridge as fast as he could. When the doors opened, he saw his crew working quickly at their stations. The main screen showed 3 massive ships that looked nothing like the graceful vessel they had just rescued Zara from. These ships were dark and angular, covered in weapons and thick armor plating. Report, Jake ordered as he took his command chair. Ryan looked up from his tactical station with a grim expression. 3 warships, Captain. Each one is twice the size of the Discovery. They're armed with energy weapons I've never seen before, and their shields are already up. Any communication from them? Jake asked. Lisa shook her head. They're sending a signal, but it's not friendly. The translator is working on it, but the tone sounds like a demand, not a request. On the medical deck below, Dr. Rodriguez felt Zara grab her arm tighter. The alien girl was trying to sit up despite her injuries, her black eyes wide with terror. She spoke rapidly in her musical language, and even without translation, her fear was clear. Easy, Zara, Dr. Rodriguez said softly. We won't let anyone hurt you. But Zara shook her head violently. She pointed upward and made a gesture across her throat. Then she pointed to Dr. Rodriguez and made the same gesture. The meaning was clear even without words. Back on the bridge, Lisa's translator finally decoded the alien message. Her face went pale as she read the results. Captain, they're demanding we surrender the Villani survivor immediately. They claim her as their property under something called salvage rights. Property? Jake's voice was cold with anger. They're talking about a person, not cargo. Ryan checked his weapon systems. Captain, their ships are moving into attack formation. I don't think they're planning to take no for an answer. The largest of the 3 ships moved closer to the Discovery. A new voice came over the communication system, speaking in broken but understandable English. The voice was deep and harsh, like metal scraping against stone. Human vessel, I am Commander, Vex of the Korthak Empire. You have taken what belongs to us. Return the Villani female immediately, and we will allow you to leave this system alive. Jake stood up from his chair. This is Captain Morrison of the UES Discovery. The person you're referring to is under our protection. She came to us asking for help, and we don't hand over refugees to anyone. There was a long pause before Commander Vex responded. You do not understand, human. The Villani are a conquered species. They belong to the Korthak Empire. Your interference will not be tolerated. Then you don't understand us, Jake replied firmly. We don't recognize anyone's right to own another thinking being. The answer is no. Commander Vex's laughter was like breaking glass. Foolish humans, you are new to this galaxy. You do not know your place yet. We have conquered dozens of species. You will learn to submit like all the others. Jake looked at Ryan. How long until they are in weapons range? 2 minutes, Captain. Their ships are faster than ours and we can't outrun them in open space. Jake made a quick decision. Helen, set course for the nebula. If we can't outrun them, maybe we can lose them in those storms. Helen's hands flew over her controls. Course, set, Captain. But the radiation levels in there are dangerous. We might not survive long inside that nebula. We definitely won't survive out here, Jake replied. All hands prepare for combat maneuvers. The Discovery turned toward the purple nebula and accelerated as fast as its engines could manage. Behind them, the 3 Korthak ships followed, their weapons charging up with bright energy. In the engineering section, Pete Collins watched his power readings climb higher than he liked. Come on, old girl, he whispered to the ship. Give us everything you've got. The first energy blasts from the Korthak ships lit up space around the Discovery. Helen threw the ship into a spinning dive that made everyone grab onto something solid. The shots missed, but barely. They're not trying to destroy us, Ryan observed, watching the enemy fire patterns. They want to disable our engine so they can board us. That's not happening, Jake said grimly. Ryan, return fire. Show. Then we're not helpless. The Discovery's weapons fired back at the pursuing ships. The human-built plasma cannons were smaller than the Korthak weapons, but they were accurate. Several shots hit the lead enemy ship, causing its shields to flicker. Commander Vex's voice came over the radio again, but this time he sounded surprised and angry. Impossible. How do such primitive weapons penetrate our shields? Ryan smiled as he adjusted his targeting systems. Human weapons are designed differently, Captain. We focus on shield penetration rather than raw power. The Discovery reached the edge of the nebula just as more enemy fire lit up space around them. One blast grazed their hull, causing the lights to flicker throughout the ship. Hull breach on Deck 4, reported Lisa. Damage control teams are responding. As they entered the nebula, the main screen filled with swirling purple and gold clouds. Lightning danced between the gas formations, and the ship's sensors were immediately confused by all the interference. I can barely see 50 meters ahead, Helen reported, but that means they can't see us either. Dr. Rodriguez's voice came over the ship's communication system. Captain, Zara is trying to tell me something important. She keeps pointing at the walls and making warning gestures. Put her on the bridge communicator, Jake ordered. A moment later, Zara's musical voice filled the bridge. She spoke rapidly, in her own language, and Lisa worked to translate. She's warning us about something, Lisa said. The Korthak have special sensors that can track Villani even through nebula interference. She says we need to... I think she's saying we need to think like hunters instead of prey. Jake looked at Ryan. What does she mean? Ryan studied his tactical display, thinking hard. Captain, maybe she's right. We've been running, but the Korthak expect that. Every other species they've conquered probably ran and hid. What if we did? Something they don't expect? Like what? Like fight back properly. Use the nebula to our advantage instead of just hiding in it. Jake nodded slowly. Do it. You have command of the tactical situation. Ryan began giving orders quickly. Helen, take us deeper into the storm activity. Pete, I need you to modify our sensors to work better in this interference. Lisa, see if Zara can tell us anything about Korthak ship weaknesses. For the next several minutes, the Discovery moved through the dangerous nebula like a ghost. The Korthak ships followed, but they were having trouble with the storms. Their larger ships were not built for the careful navigation needed in such conditions. Contact, Ryan announced. One enemy ship 2,000 meters to starboard. They don't know we're here. Fire, Jake ordered. The Discovery's weapons lit up the nebula as they struck the Korthak ship from an unexpected angle. The enemy vessel's shields collapsed and several systems exploded along its hull. Commander Vex's angry voice filled the radio frequencies. "Cowards! Come out and fight with honor!" Jake activated the communication system. "Commander Vex, this is Honor. We're protecting someone who asked for our help. You're the ones hunting a helpless refugee. The Villani belong to us. We conquered them fairly." "Then you should have treated them better," Jake replied. "Maybe they wouldn't want to escape." Another Korthak ship appeared through the nebula clouds, firing wildly in all directions. But Helen was ready, diving the Discovery through a gap between two lightning storms. The enemy shots missed completely, and Ryan was able to return fire with deadly accuracy. "Second enemy ship disabled, Captain," Ryan reported with satisfaction. The battle continued for another hour, with the Discovery using hit-and-run tactics throughout the nebula. The human crew worked together perfectly, each person knowing their job and doing it well. Pete kept the engines running beyond their normal limits. Helen navigated through dangers that would have destroyed a less skilled pilot. Lisa coordinated communications and sensor data, while also helping Zara provide intelligence about enemy movements. Finally, Commander Vex's voice came over the radio one last time. "This is not over, humans. The Korthak Empire will remember what you have done here. We will find you again." The three enemy ships limped away from the nebula, too damaged to continue the fight. Jake watched them go on the main screen, knowing this was just the beginning of something much larger. Dr. Rodriguez came to the bridge with Zara, who was now able to walk with help. The alien girl looked at Jake with her large black eyes, and even though she couldn't speak English yet, her gratitude was clear. "Captain," Dr. Rodriguez said quietly, "Zara has been trying to tell me something important. I think there are thousands, more like her, who need help." Jake looked at the alien girl, then at his crew. They had just made an enemy of an entire empire to save one person. Now it seemed like that one person might be just the beginning. "Then I guess we have work to do," he said simply. The Discovery limped through space for 2 days before reaching Frontier Station Alpha. The remote human outpost was built into a large asteroid, hidden from most space traffic. Jake had hoped to find a quiet place to repair his ship and figure out what to do next. Instead, he found something he never expected. The space around the station was crowded with ships, not human ships, but dozens of alien vessels of different shapes and sizes. Some looked like crystals that had been carved into flying machines. Others were round and smooth like soap bubbles. A few were so strange that Jake couldn't even guess how they moved through space. "Captain," Lisa said from her communication station, "Station Commander Kate Bell is asking to speak with you immediately. She says it's urgent." Kate Bell appeared on the main screen a few moments later. She was a tough woman in her 40s who had been running Frontier Station Alpha for 3 years. Her face looked tired and worried. "Jake, thank goodness you're here," she said. "We have a situation. I've got over 200 alien refugees here, and more arriving every day. They're all running from the same thing." Jake looked at Zara, who was standing beside Dr. Rodriguez on the bridge. The alien girl's eyes went wide when she heard Kate's words. "Let me guess," Jake said. "The Korthak Empire." Kate nodded grimly. "How did you know?" "Wait, don't tell me. You've met them too. We rescued this young woman from them," Jake explained, gesturing to Zara. "They weren't happy about it." "Bring her down to the station," Kate said. "There are others here who will want to meet her. And Jake, we need to talk privately. What's happening out here is bigger than just a few refugee ships." An hour later, Jake walked through Frontier Station Alpha's main corridor and couldn't believe what he saw. The hallways were filled with beings from at least a dozen different species. Some were tall and thin like Zara. Others were short and covered in fur. A few looked almost like humans but with different colored skin and extra arms. All of them had the same look in their eyes. Fear. Kate led Jake to her office while Dr. Rodriguez took Zara to meet with other refugees. Security Chief Ben Clark was waiting for them, along with several alien beings who seemed to be leaders among the refugees. "Jake, Meet Torin of the Thanari people, Kate said, indicating a tall being with gray skin and 4 arms. His entire planet was stripped of its resources by the Korthak. And this is Melody of the Morden. She pointed to a small creature that looked like it was made of living crystal. Her people were forced into labor camps. Toran spoke in accented but clear English. Captain Morrison, we have heard what you did for the Villani girl. This is very unusual. Most species run when they encounter the Korthak. You fought them. Someone needed help, Jake said simply. We couldn't just leave her. Melody's crystal body chimed like wind bells when she spoke. This is what we do not understand about humans. Your reputation in this part of the galaxy is that you are bloodthirsty warriors, yet you risk your lives for strangers. Kate sat down heavily in her chair. Jake, I've been getting reports for months. The Korthak Empire is expanding faster than ever before. They've conquered or enslaved at least 20 different species in the last year alone. And the response from the established galactic powers has been to hide and hope they don't get noticed. Ben Clark, a former Marine who had served with Jake years ago, leaned forward. Captain, I've been talking to these refugees. The Korthak have a pattern. They target peaceful species first because they don't fight back. Then they use the resources and slaves from those conquests to attack stronger civilizations. How many people are we talking about? Jake asked. Toran's 4 hands moved in a gesture of despair. Millions. My people alone, over 50 million, are now slaves. The Villani your doctor is treating, her people number nearly 10 million in captivity. Jake felt anger building in his chest. And the galactic community just watches this happen? What can we do? Asked a new voice. Jake turned to see another alien. This one looking almost human except for bright blue skin and silver hair. I am Carl of the Binari people. We tried to resist the Korthak 3 years ago. They destroyed our fleet in 2 days and turned our homeworld into a mining operation. Because you fought like you always fight, Ben said suddenly. Everyone looked at him. I've been studying the combat reports from these refugees. Every species that tried to resist used the same tactics they'd always used. Predictable formations, standard strategies, rules of engagement that the Korthak had seen before. Kate raised an eyebrow. What are you suggesting, Ben? I'm suggesting we teach them to fight like humans, Ben replied. Dirty, unpredictable, whatever it takes to win. The Korthak have never faced human military tactics. The aliens in the room looked uncomfortable. Torin spoke for several of them. Violence is not natural to most of our species. We have not needed to develop such skills. Then you'll keep losing, Jake said bluntly. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. The Korthak understand only strength. If you want to save your people, you need to learn to fight back. Melody chimed sadly. But we are artists, philosophers, scientists. How can we become warriors? Dr. Rodriguez's voice came over the room's communication system. Captain Morrison, please come to Medical Bay 2. Zara wants to speak with everyone. A few minutes later, the group gathered in the medical bay where Zara was meeting with other Villani refugees. There were 12 of them, all survivors from different Korthak attacks. Zara had been talking to them in their musical language, but when the humans and other aliens arrived, she switched to the broken English she had been learning. I tell them about humans, Zara said, her voice still weak but determined. About how you save me even when dangerous. About how you fight Korthak ships with smaller ship and win. One of the older Villani, a male with silver hair, spoke in halting English. Zara says humans can think violence but also think protection. This is difficult for us to understand. Violence brings us pain, but Zara says human violence is different. Dr. Rodriguez nodded. Zara has been trying to explain this for days. Her people feel physical pain when they encounter violent thoughts. But she's learned that human aggression often comes from a desire to protect others. I want to learn, Zara said suddenly, looking directly at Jake. I want to learn human fighting so I can help save my people. The room fell silent. For a Villani to even consider learning combat was apparently shocking to the other refugees. But then Carl of the Binari stepped forward. I also want to learn. My family is still in Korthak labor camps. If human tactics can help free them, I will endure any training. One by one, other refugees began to volunteer. Not all of them, but enough to make a difference. Even some of the Villani, inspired by Zara's courage, said they would try to overcome their natural aversion to violence. Ben Clark looked at Jake with a grin. Captain, I think we're about to start the strangest military training program in galactic history. Kate Bell stood up from where she had been watching everything unfold. If we're going to do this, we need to do it right. We'll need weapons, ships, and training facilities, and we'll need to keep it secret from the Korthak until we're ready. Jake nodded slowly. It won't be easy. Human military tactics work because of the way we think. Teaching aliens to think like human soldiers will be challenging, but not impossible, said a new voice. Everyone turned to see Zara standing with the help of her walking stick. Despite her injuries, her black eyes were filled with determination. Humans saved me when no one else would try. Now I will learn to save others. This is what friends do, yes? Jake smiled at the young alien woman who had already changed his life and the lives of his crew. Yes, Zara, that's exactly what friends do. Over the next several days, Frontier Station Alpha became something it had never been before. A training ground where humans taught aliens the art of war. Not for conquest or glory, but for the most human of reasons. To protect those who could not protect themselves. The refugees learned quickly that human military thinking was unlike anything they had encountered. Where their tactics were based on honor and tradition, human tactics focused on results and survival. Where they fought to prove their strength, humans fought to win and go home alive. But most importantly, they learned that the galaxy's reputation of humans being bloodthirsty was only half the story. The other half was that humans were willing to shed that blood for people they had never met, simply because it was the right thing to do. 3 weeks after the training began, an urgent message arrived at Frontier Station Alpha. One of the Villani refugees had received a secret communication from his sister, who was trapped on a massive Korthak prison ship. The message was short, but terrifying. 10,000 Villani prisoners were being prepared for transport to the Korthak homeworld, where they would disappear forever. Jake stood in the station's main briefing room, looking at the holographic display of the enemy prison ship. The vessel was enormous, nearly 5 times the size of the Discovery. Its dark hull was covered in weapons and defensive systems. This is our chance, said Zara, who had recovered enough to move around without help. Her training with human combat. Tactics had been difficult for her Villani mind, but she had pushed through the pain. If we wait, my people will be gone forever. Ben Clark pointed to different sections of the prison ship on the display. According to the intelligence Zara gathered, from other survivors, the prisoners are held in the center of the ship. Getting there means fighting through multiple security levels. Carl of the Binari, who had become one of the best students in the combat training program, studied the ship's layout. How many guards? At least 2,000 Korthak soldiers, replied Toran, his forearms moving nervously. Plus automated defense systems and security barriers. Jake looked around the room at the mixed group of humans and aliens who had volunteered for the mission. They had only 3 ships, the Discovery, a converted Thanari cargo vessel, and a small Binari scout ship. Against a massive prison ship, their chances seemed impossible. The key is coordination, explained Sergeant Alex Turner, a Marine who had joined them from another human outpost. We use Zara's telepathic abilities to guide our movements while staying hidden from their mental detection systems. Zara nodded, though Jake could see the strain this put on her. Using her telepathic powers around violent thoughts caused her physical pain, but she had learned to endure it for short periods. Dr. Rodriguez checked her medical equipment one more time. I'll set up emergency aid stations for the prisoners as soon as we secure areas of the ship. Many of them will need immediate medical attention. The plan was complex but necessary. The 3 ships would approach the prison vessel from different directions. Jake would lead the Discovery in a direct assault to draw attention, while the alien ships used stealth technology to attach to the prison ship's hull. Small teams would then infiltrate the vessel and work their way to the prisoner holding areas. Remember, Jake told the group, we're not trying to destroy the ship. We're trying to save lives. Every prisoner we rescue is a victory. 2 days later, the small rescue fleet found the Korthak prison ship drifting in empty space. The massive vessel looked even more threatening in person than it had in the holographic displays. Zara, can you sense the prisoners? Jake asked. Zara closed her black eyes and concentrated. After a moment, she nodded. Yes, 10,000 Villani, maybe more. They are scared. Very scared. And there are other species too. Thanari, Mordun, at least 6 different peoples. What about guards? Many guards. They think violent thoughts all the time. It is difficult for me to be specific, but I sense at least 1,500 Korthak soldiers. Jake activated the communication system. All ships, begin the approach. Remember, we go in fast and we get out faster. The Discovery accelerated toward the prison ship, its weapons charging. The Korthak sensors detected them immediately, and alarms began sounding throughout the enemy vessel. Incoming transmission, reported Lisa. It's the prison ship, Commander. Put it through, Jake ordered. A harsh Korthak voice filled the bridge. Unknown ships, you are approaching a secure Imperial facility. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. This is Captain Morrison of the human ship Discovery, Jake replied. We're here to collect some friends of ours that you're holding illegally. The Korthak commander laughed. Humans, we have heard about your interference. You will regret coming here. The prison ship opened fire with massive energy cannons. Helen threw the Discovery into evasive maneuvers while Ryan returned fire with their smaller but more accurate weapons. While the Discovery kept the enemy distracted, the 2 alien ships approached from the opposite side of the prison vessel. Using technology that bent light around their hulls, they became nearly invisible to Korthak sensors. Stealth ships are in position, reported Carl over the communication system. Beginning hull attachment now. Inside the prison ship, Korthak, soldiers ran to battle stations. They had dealt with rescue attempts before, but always from single species using predictable tactics. They expected the attacking ships to follow standard combat procedures. Instead, they found themselves confused by the Discovery's unpredictable movements. The human ship would attack from one direction, disappear behind the prison vessel's bulk, then emerge somewhere completely different. Ryan's weapons targeted specific systems rather than trying to break through heavy armor. Their shields are down in Section 7, Ryan reported, but only for 30 seconds before they regenerate. That's enough, replied Sergeant Turner from the Thanari ship. Boarding team, go, go, go. The first human and alien soldiers cut through the prison ship's hull using portable laser cutters. They moved quickly through corridors that Zara guided, them through using her telepathic senses. Left corridor, then down 2 levels. Zara's voice came through their communication devices. Avoid the main security station. 20 guards there. The rescue teams moved like ghosts through the enemy ship. When they encountered guards, they used human tactics that confused the Korthak completely. Instead of fighting honorably in open combat, the rescuers used ambushes, distractions, and teamwork. Corporal Danny Miller, a human explosives expert, planted charges that created noise and confusion in one section, while the main team moved through another area completely undetected. First prisoner block secured, reported Alex Turner. Beginning evacuation of Level C. Carol Phillips, the team medic, began treating Villani prisoners who had been tortured for information. Many of them were so weak they could barely walk. These people need immediate medical attention, she reported. Some of them have been here for months. The rescue continued for 2 hours. Small teams of humans and aliens worked together to free prisoners and guide them to escape ships. Zara coordinated everything through her telepathic link, despite the pain it caused her to be surrounded by so much violence and fear. Zara, you need to rest, Dr. Rodriguez urged over the communication system. No, Zara replied firmly. My people need me. I can endure the pain. But the Korthak were not giving up easily. Commander Vex himself arrived with reinforcements, trapping several rescue teams deep inside the prison ship. Captain Morrison, came Alex Turner's voice, filled with static from enemy interference. We're pinned down in Section 12. Heavy resistance. We've got about 300 prisoners with us, but we can't reach the extraction point. Jake made a quick decision. Ryan, target their power systems. Cut the lights and their security barriers. Sir, that might trap our people inside, or give them the cover they need to escape. Do it. The Discovery's weapons struck the prison ship's main power generators. Lights went out throughout the massive vessel and emergency systems activated. In the darkness, the human and alien rescue teams moved like they had trained, using night vision equipment and coordination to outmaneuver confused Korthak guards. This is impossible, came Commander Vex's angry voice over intercepted communications. How do they move so well in darkness? Because humans hunt in the dark, Jake said quietly to himself. One by one, the rescue teams reached their extraction points. Thousands of prisoners were loaded onto the waiting ships. But the mission was not without cost. 3 human Marines and 2 alien volunteers sacrificed themselves to hold a corridor long enough for a group of injured prisoners to escape. Sam Parker is down, came a painful report from one of the teams. He held the security door until everyone got through. Jake felt the familiar weight of command as he listened to the casualty reports. These people had died saving strangers, and he would have to live with sending them into danger. But as the last rescue ship detached from the prison vessel, he also felt something else. Pride. All ships. Withdrawal course. Jake ordered. We're done here. As they moved away from the crippled prison ship, Zara came to the bridge. Her face was pale from the mental strain of the mission, but her eyes were bright with tears of joy. Captain, she said in her improving English, we saved 8,743 people today. Villani, Thanari, Mordun, and others? They are free because humans taught us to fight for each other. Jake looked at the alien girl who had started this whole adventure. We all fought together, Zara. That's what made the difference. Through the main screen, they could see the prison ship trying to repair its damaged systems, but it no longer held thousands of innocent prisoners. Those people were now free, heading to safety aboard ships crewed by the most unlikely alliance. In galactic history, Captain, Ryan said with satisfaction, I think we just sent the Korthak Empire a message they won't forget. Jake nodded, watching the stars ahead. But he knew this was just the beginning. Word of this rescue would spread throughout the galaxy, and both enemies and friends would take notice of what had happened here. News of the prison ship rescue spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days, reports reached dozens of star systems about the impossible mission that had freed nearly 9,000 prisoners from Korthak captivity. But the most surprising part of the story was not that it had happened, but who had made it happen. Jake stood on the observation deck of Frontier Station Alpha, watching new ships arrive every few hours. Word had gotten out about the human-alien alliance, and refugees from across the galaxy were coming to see if the stories were true. Captain Morrison, said a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Zara approaching with a datapad in her hands. Her recovery had been remarkable, and her English had improved greatly over the past month. What do you have there, Zara? Jake asked. Communication. Messages, she replied, her black eyes bright with excitement. From Villani communities that we thought were lost forever. The rescue mission has given them hope. They are organizing resistance movements on 12 different worlds. Jake raised his eyebrows. The Villani are organizing resistance movements? I thought your people couldn't handle violent thoughts. Zara smiled, an expression that looked strange on her alien features, but somehow perfectly natural. We are learning, Captain. You showed us that violence can be a tool of protection instead of cruelty. It still causes us pain, but we are willing to endure that pain to save our families. Dr. Rodriguez joined them on the observation deck. Jake, you should see what's happening in the medical bays. We've got representatives from 15 different species here, all wanting to learn human medical techniques. Apparently, our approach to treating trauma and injuries is as revolutionary as our military tactics. How so? Jake asked. Most alien species have very specialized healing methods that only work on their own people, Dr. Rodriguez explained. Human medicine is adaptable. We figure out what works and make it work better. These aliens have never seen anything like it. Through the large windows, Jake could see a Thanari ship docking with the station. Its hull was covered in new armor plating that looked different from anything he had seen before. That's another thing, said Ben Clark, walking up to join the group. The aliens are starting to modify their technology using human engineering principles. Instead of following traditional designs, they're building things that actually work better. Jake shook his head in amazement. All this because we rescued one person from a damaged ship. No, Captain, Zara said seriously. All this because humans do not abandon people who need help. This is not normal in the galaxy. Most species save only their own kind. Humans save anyone who asks. Kate Bell's voice came over the station communication system. All senior staff to the command center, immediately. We have incoming traffic and it's big. Jake and the others hurried to the command center, where they found Kate staring at a display screen that showed the edge of their star system. 3 massive fleets were approaching from different directions. The bad news, Kate said without looking away from the screen, is that the largest fleet belongs to the Korthak Empire. 200 ships, including their flagship. Commander Vex is leading them personally. And the good news? Jake asked. Kate smiled. The other 2 fleets are on our side. The Galactic Defense Coalition has officially formed with representatives from over 30 species. And the 3rd fleet? She paused dramatically. That's the human colonial navy. Apparently word about what we've been doing here reached Earth. On the main display, Jake could see the approaching ships. The Korthak fleet was dark and threatening, just as he remembered. But the Allied fleets were something beautiful to see. Ships of dozens of different designs flew together in formations that should have been impossible. How long until they arrive? Jake asked. 6 hours for the Korthak fleet, Kate replied. 4 hours for our allies. Jake activated the station-wide communication system. This is Captain Morrison to all personnel. The final battle is coming. Everyone who wants to leave should do so now. No one will think less of you for choosing safety. But over the next hour, not a single ship left the area around Frontier Station Alpha. Instead, more kept arriving. Small craft carrying volunteers from species that had never fought before. Converted cargo ships with weapons mounted wherever they would fit. Even some Volani vessels, their crews grimly determined despite the pain that combat thoughts caused them. Zara came to the command center wearing human military gear that had been modified to fit her tall, thin frame. Captain, I have been elected to speak for all the rescued prisoners. We want to fight. Zara, you don't have to do this. You've already done more than enough. No, Captain, you do not understand. For the first time in our history, my people have a chance to fight back against those who hurt us. We will not waste this chance. The battle began when the Korthak fleet opened fire on the Allied ships from maximum range. Commander Vex clearly expected the same quick victory he had achieved against every other species. Instead, he found himself facing something new in galactic warfare. The Allied fleet did not fight like any single species. They fought like humans had taught them, using combined tactics that played to each species' strengths. The fast Binari ships darted between enemy formations, drawing fire away from the slower but more heavily armed Thanari vessels. The Morden used their natural crystal technology to create sensor illusions that confused Korthak targeting systems. And throughout it all, human ships coordinated the complex dance of battle. Enemy flagship is trying to break through to the station, reported Ryan from the Discovery's tactical station. Not happening, Jake replied. All ships focus fire on the flagship. Let's end this. But Commander Vex had one more surprise. His flagship began broadcasting a powerful signal that caused painful feedback in all telepathic species, including the Volani. Zara, get to the medical bay, Jake ordered, seeing her collapse in pain. No, she gasped, blood running from her nose. I can block their signal. Give me a communication link to all the Volani ships. Despite the agony, it caused her? Zara began singing in the ancient Volani language. Her telepathic voice reached every member of her species in the fleet, creating a mental shield that protected them from the Korthic weapon. The tide of battle turned quickly after that. Without their telepathic advantage, the Korthic fleet found itself outmaneuvered and outfought by an enemy they could not understand. Commander Vex's final transmission was filled with confusion and rage. "This is impossible. You are just primitives and prey species. How do you fight with such coordination?" Jake opened a channel to the entire fleet. "Because we fight for each other, Commander. That's something you never learned." The Korthak flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light, taking Commander Vex with it. The remaining enemy ships began to retreat, their empire's expansion finally stopped by an alliance they had never expected. In the aftermath of the battle, Jake found Zara in the medical bay. Dr. Rodriguez was treating her for the injuries caused by overusing her telepathic abilities. "Was it worth it?" Jake asked gently. Zara looked at him with tired but happy eyes. "Captain, do you know what my people are calling you humans now?" "I'm afraid to ask." "The Protectors. Not bloodthirsty warriors, but protectors. Because you taught us that strength is not about hurting others. It is about stopping those who hurt the innocent." Jake smiled. "I think I like that better than our old reputation." Dr. Rodriguez looked up from her work. "Jake, I've been monitoring communications from across the galaxy. The Galactic Defense Coalition is being officially recognized by the major civilizations. They want humans to help train their military forces. And the Korthak Empire?" "Collapsing," Kate Bell said, entering the medical bay. "Without their telepathic advantages and facing organized resistance, their conquered worlds are rebelling everywhere. It turns out that most of the galaxy was just waiting for someone to show them it was possible to fight back." Jake looked out through the medical bay's small window at the mixed fleet of human and alien ships. Crews from dozens of species were working together to repair damage and treat wounded. It was not the galaxy he had expected to find when the Discovery first left Earth. "What happens now?" he asked. Zara sat up carefully, despite Dr. Rodriguez's protests. "Now we build something new, Captain. A galaxy where the strong protect the weak instead of preying on them. You humans have shown us that this is possible." "We all showed each other," Jake corrected. "Humans learned just as much from working with other species as we taught them." "Perhaps," Zara said with her strange alien smile. "But humans were the first to say that it is better to fight for others than to fight for yourself. That is a lesson the galaxy needed to learn." Jake nodded, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, freed prisoners were returning to their families. Resistance movements were forming on worlds that had known only oppression, and species that had never worked together were building something new and better. All because one human crew had decided that they could not abandon someone who needed help. It was, Jake thought, a very human thing to do.